Hey, this is Sadie Robertson from the Live Original Tour, and you're listening to Beacon Radio.
Beacon Radio, Steve Teel, having a great time, and we're talking to Candice Curry. She's written the book, The Con Man's Daughter, a story of lies, desperation, and finding God. It's an incredible story. Hopefully you've been listening and you're catching some of that, and we've got more to talk about. She is a miracle, and I love those kind of miracles. I mean, you really are a miracle. And so before we were talking to the first half of the show, I was mentioning that around this daddy-daughter dance, there was some drama, and there was a part in the book when Candice's future stepdad is going to dance with her for this, even with his two left feet. And there's a part in the book where I had to put it down. I'm like, you're kidding me? No, please. So, but we have your permission that you can tell us what I'm talking about. Tell us about that, Candice.
The dance was 2 nights in a row, and I did not care about what I wore or my hair or anything. I just wanted somebody to dance with, because the practices leading up to it, my stepdad didn't show. He didn't show up for practices because he had to work. It wasn't like he just didn't show on me. But so during the practices, all the seniors were lined up on one side and all the dads were on the other, and I was the only one with an empty space, looking across. And that was kind of a really hard hit.
Oh,
and no
man.
matter how I faked it, I would just pretend like, yeah, no big deal. And one of the other cheerleaders stood in place across from me, which we added humor to it, but it was still totally humiliating. And so the night of the dance, he promised he would be there, just swore up and down. And so all the girls went into the gym to get ready, and they had, just like the most gorgeous dresses, and they were putting their hair up and jewelry and doing their makeup. I literally pulled an old prom dress out of my gym bag that I had stuffed in there because I just didn't care, put it on, took my hair out of the ponytail and let it fall where it's may. And I'm like, let's do this. I just kind of wanted to get it over with. And so we went out. My dad was late. My stepdad was late to get there because he didn't know how to tie a tie. If that is not the sweetest thing ever.
That's really
and
sweet.
And he came barreling into the school in his old work truck and just flew out. I'm here. And
your friend was waiting with you?
My friend was waiting with me.
That was kind of tender too.
Oh, she's just the best. And she's been with me through a lot of...
She's still friends with you too?
We're still friends, yes.
What's her name?
Yeah. Her name is Holly.
Okay.
And yeah, she always stood by my side.
Wow.
She got me. She truly got me.
Oh, man, that's cool.
Yeah, I have a few friends like that. My friend Heather has been my friend since she was 6, and to my very best friend to this day.
Friends since 6, and all the stuff that you've been through.
Yes, and she has never, ever abandoned me. I'm like, I always tell her, gosh, you have bad taste in friends. Why did you not bail? But she's the sweetest human ever. So my friend Holly waited with me. My stepdad comes barreling in, and I don't know how he got his tie tied, but I know that the next day my mom wouldn't let him untie it. She just loosened it and made him take it. She's like, you are not going to be late. So we danced that first night, and Was your mom there, or was she working? Oh, no, my mom was there.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom never missed a single thing of ours.
Wow.
She was at every soccer game, every cheerleading thing, anything.
Yeah.
Anything. My mom never missed. Biggest cheerleader of mine.
Yeah.
Great woman.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yes, she was there, especially if, my stepdad was going to dance with me. And so night ended, didn't really think anything of it. I was just glad that he had showed up. I got to dance with the dad, and that was that. And so the next day we were getting ready to go again, and my parents kind of stayed behind, my stepdad and my mom, and we were getting ready to go, and I took that dress and threw it in my gym bag again and was getting ready to leave, and he told me to come back in the room. And I'm probably going to get choked up when I tell the story, but
I probably will too, Candice.
He sat me down and he said, I had a really great time last night, but compared to all those other girls, you just looked really plain. I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Do not do this to me. Everything was fine, let's just go dance. You don't have to, please, in this one moment, don't bail on me. Because I had a dad in front of me yesterday, and just get me through this day, And for him to call me plain, I'm like, okay, I can take plain. I've been through worse. Just cut the cord and let me go. And he pulled out a box and he said, so I got you this. And it was a diamond necklace. It had 3 diamonds and a little pearl. And he said, now you can look, pretty and shiny like the other girls, basically. And I was like, I don't think anybody had ever, a man in my life, a father figure, had given me worth like that. And I don't mean that materialistically, but that he went out didn't tell my mom. This was not my stepfather. This was my mom's boyfriend, who was willing to step in as my father and then go above and beyond and just go get something to say, you're worth it. You know, you're appreciated and I love you and you're worth it. And so I put that necklace on, and I could have had, you know, Elizabeth, what's her name, diamonds on. You know who I'm talking about?
I don't know.
Elizabeth.
I wish Roland was here. He'd know that.
She's been married 8 times. Famous actress.
Oh, Elizabeth Taylor?
Taylor. God.
Okay.
I don't know how I didn't get that. But, I mean, I could have been dripping in her diamonds is what I thought. Like, oh, my gosh, I'm the fanciest. And I was running out, and he said, now all the other girls are going to be jealous of you. Oh. And I chuckled because to the thought of the other girls who were dancing with their daddies to be jealous of me was laughable to me, you know. But I think he really meant it, you know. He's like,
I do too.
I think. So he showed up, and at that night when we got ready, I took a little more pride, you know, because I had this necklace, and I got to go show my girlfriends, like, look what he did. And it was just amazing, really amazing. And so, yeah, that was, I think, one of my big moments of finding out that I was worth more than I thought I was.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's such a beautiful story. But I'm telling you, when I was reading it, I was like, oh, man, this better turn out better. Because I think you were even praying in that moment. Because even though you did not yet really know God, you still kind of prayed to that God that was out there and wanted, and please make this moment stop. And that's what I was feeling like. And then it turned into this beautiful, beautiful moment. And that's kind of the way this book goes. It's The Con Man's Daughter by Candice Curry, a story of lies, desperation, and finding God. There is just beautiful redemption in this story, and we're going to talk about some more of it. So, gosh, thank you for sharing that. You had me in tears. I saw my wife is in studio today. She's in tears. I don't know Carla well enough to say if he was just a little bit. Man, it's beautiful. So, okay, so kind of get us forward. You go off to college. You, like your mom, are a hard worker, but it seems like you weren't into school. So, but you worked hard, and then I think I can tell for you, and then we'll move ahead. But you wind up quitting college, and your mom says, if you're going to quit college, then go get a job.
Yeah.
And you did. So tell us about that, and tell us where that God leads that.
Oh my goodness. My mom. I always say that I'm allergic to college, because I just did not fit in or take it well, or I don't know. I wasn't good at it at all, but I worked my rear off. I mean, and my work ethic is definitely from my mom. But my mom was like Dean's List. She went to school when we were kindergarten. She mastered everything. She's just kind of amazing. So I came home with my tail tucked between my legs, and I said, I quit. And I think her biggest fear was my stepdad getting home and having to tell him. I thought she was going to be disappointed. She's like, well, you're going to tell him. And I'm like, okay. But my dad, the great thing is my stepdad had not gone to college and was extremely successful. And he couldn't have cared less about it. You know, I was like, sure, bring him on. I'll tell him. He just didn't care. And so that day I went out with my cousin to look for jobs, and we were at a gas station, and there was a Hooters next door, and she said, I dare you to go apply there.
It was a dare.
And I don't back down from a dare. I'm like, well, bring it, you know. I'm 18. You can dare me to do anything. And I did, and got the job on the spot, not expecting, like, you know, I was going to go to Chili's or something. Got the uniform, came home to my mom that day, and I'm like, well, I got some news. Woo, I got a job, you know. She's like, oh, great. I'm like, but here's my uniform. And my mom, perfect moment to kind of throw stuff in my face and be disappointed, I guess. Yeah. My mom did not do that to me, because that's how she is. She said, oh, great, you're going to make a lot of money there, and kind of gave me a sly smile. And I was like, oh, okay. I was waiting for the hammer to drop, you know, and she didn't drop it, which is kind of par for the course when it comes to her. I'm always like, oh my gosh, she's going to kill me. And then she just surprises me with this great compassion, you know.
That's amazing.
And kind of a smirk. Kind of like, yeah, girl, go in there, see how that works out for you. And I was there for like 2 years. I mean,
you did really well.
Yeah, and I have to say, the stigma on it and everything, I've got some really great friends to this day from that. I mean, I'm almost 42, had that job when I was 18, and my most amazing the most amazing women in my life are from there.
Is that right?
Oh my gosh, just the hardest working women.
Yeah.
Good Christian women, great, amazing mothers, you know. So I've learned real hard not to judge, you know, because you don't know anybody's story.
Right.
Truly. And so that was part of my story. And I used to be ashamed of it. And now I'm like, no, that's part of my story. And I met amazing people there and amazing things happened. And so I'm not going to be ashamed of it.
Right.
You know?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. So move us forward because I think you get a job somewhere else maybe and you're managing a very popular bar in the city or something like that. Or is it a restaurant?
I did. I managed. It's closed down now.
Okay.
It was called The Lab. And they made me the manager for some reason. I was 23. I didn't even know what I was doing. And my boyfriend from high school came in. We didn't go to that same high school, but we were friends. And he came in. He said, hey, we should get back together. He had been out of town. I said, yeah, we should. He's like, we should get married. I said, okay. We were married a week later. I'm not even kidding.
Okay, right.
Yeah. And my mom went because that's how she is. She wasn't like pulling me by the ear back.
Right.
We flew to Vegas and got married.
Right.
And we're immediately pregnant with what is our 17-year-old. And, you know, we're 23. We made a very rash decision to run off to Vegas. And, you know, what happens in Vegas came home with us. And so we divorced. We separated while we were pregnant with her. Yeah. I mean, very early. But we made a very conscious effort to make sure she didn't feel, we both have divorced parents. We made sure she didn't feel that we couldn't give her a 2-parent home, you know, her parents.
Right.
She has 2-parent homes now, but we couldn't give that to her. We knew we couldn't. So we made sure that she never saw anger. She never saw us fight. To this day, when we see each other, she sees us hug each other. We always tell each other that we love each other because we do, because without each other, we would not have her, you know. We've always respected each other's spouses. And I'm not trying to paint a perfect picture because we have moments, you know, as any parents parenting any child, you're going to have your moments, you know, but I'd say for a divorced couple with a blended family, we're kind of nailing it, you know. We are. We get along really well. So, yeah, we're good. He's a good man, and I have a great husband, and they get along. And his wife is amazing, and she's about to have a baby in October, and I'm just thrilled. It's her first baby.
Wow.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Wow. That's cool. All right. So Candice Curry is who we're talking to. She is the author of this brand new book. You want to get it now, The Con Man's Daughter. We want to get it before it turns into a movie so we can say the book is better than the movie. And she did write back in 2014 an open letter to my daughter's stepmom. That went viral. They kind of all landed, but she landed on the Today Show and Good Morning America. And she's telling us the story of lies, desperation, and finding God. Her dad, the con man. And so let's move ahead because Brandon, how did you meet him, your husband, and tell us the story of, it's a story of redemption, but there's a lot of pain in there too on the way to redemption. So
we were both managing Chili's. He came in as a new manager. He transferred in from another city, and I was bound and determined to hate him before I even met him because he was coming in as my boss, and I was like, nope. And he was 4 years younger than me, and I was like, nope, I'm not going to like him. And he came in. He's just like the nicest country boy, just so sweet and generous and kind. But I was like, no, I don't like you.
What did he say to you when he first saw you?
I like your hair. Like, you are so dorky. Like, I was like, really? That's your opening line? But yeah, he said, I like your hair. And so I've sadly kept my hair that same way. So he'll like me still. So we managed together, and, you know, I was just very distant. And then he started telling me, like, oh, I'm going to marry you. And I'm like, no, you're not. I don't like you, remember? And so he did the schedule. And so he would schedule us to close the restaurant together all the time. I mean, I would get the schedule. I'm like, are you kidding me, Brandon? He's like, no, I'm going to marry you. I've told you. Like,
wow,
this is the way I'm going to do it. And he was the boss. That sounds terrible. Like, that does sound terrible, but it was sweet. And so we would start closing the restaurant. And once everybody would go home, we'd sit in the office and talk to each other just about everything. And I remember him telling me, I just want a family to come home to. I just want to come home to my kids and my wife. And I remember thinking in my head, God, whoever he marries is going to be such a lucky girl. You know, she's going to be so lucky. And I'm such a fool because he'd been saying, I'm going to marry you. And so we...
Yeah, so maybe you'll have to jump ahead. I mean, he did win your love.
He did. We got married, and we were pregnant immediately with triplets. We were pregnant with triplets before we got married.
Okay.
We did not.
And Candice, let me say this because I see by the clock we've got about 7 minutes. Oh no, we're good. We're good. We may just have to bring Candice back to talk more, but there's just so many amazing stories in this book, and one of them is about your triplets. And so I don't know if you have time to go into that or not, but I do want to hear about you and Brandon going through the hard patch and you starting to go to church and kind of that story. But the Con Man's Daughter, you got to get this book. Even the story, of the triplets is amazing. So anyway, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll make it.
Cool.
I'll condense it. The triplets, we found out we were pregnant. We went in for our first appointment with a random doctor. We just kind of picked. And he told us that we were miscarrying twins through a sonogram. They're 2 sacs, no heartbeats. So they said, go home, come back. We're going to take everything out. So complete devastation. We go home, and I remember laying in bed just like, really, God?
Yeah.
You know? All my life, I just had been crying out in these times of need. I had never prayed to God out of thanks or just out of obedience. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't even know if there really was a God, and I thought God was for good people. And so I remember laying in bed just like, I will change everything in my life for you to save these babies, everything. And I probably, I don't know if I had my fingers crossed or what, but I swear I was praying like, come on. And so we went in to truly just have everything taken out.
You understand what a ridiculous prayer that is. That is prayer that should not be answered.
I know. He shouldn't.
Okay, all right,
He should be like,
going.
Really, Candice? I know you better than that, right?
That's just such a huge miracle, too. It's to me, it's like a Lazarus
insane.
kind of stuff. All right, go on,
insane.
Candice.
And so we went to the appointment thinking we were going to have everything removed, and they did a sonogram. I don't know why they did a sonogram. I don't know the procedures, but as we were doing it, she said, well, yeah, it's definitely twins. There's 2 heartbeats. And we were shocked. My husband shot out of the chair, and we're like, oh my gosh. 30 minutes into the sonogram, she said, oh my gosh, there's another one. I said, another what? What are you talking about? She's like, baby, you're having triplets. And that changed our entire world, Because of that, we went from a 2-income household. We were both managing the restaurant, doing fairly well. Well, I couldn't work, so we went down to 1 income, which when you're having 3 babies and you go down to 1 income, it's a financial hit big time. And so that started to take its toll on us. And then we had the triplets, and I don't even know how to explain infant triplets, but there was no sleep. And I mean that completely, wholeheartedly, no sleep. None. We would switch. He would sleep in the living room with him for a couple hours at night, and then we would switch. And I would go to the bedroom. We'd just try and catch a couple hours here and there.
Yeah.
And they were preemies, so they were sick, and it was a nightmare. He got laid off right after they were born.
Oh, my gosh.
We started taking any job we could take. He did. So he was working jobs that he hated. I was bitter because I was home by myself with these triplets all day long. It was hard.
Yeah.
Staying home with a baby's hard, but staying home with 3. So we grew bitter hearts towards each other, and it wasn't even our fault, but we couldn't get out of that. We were in this quicksand. And so we started seeking other ways to satisfy ourselves and our earthly hearts, And so infidelity played into my marriage. And the morning that I found out about that, we were standing in the kitchen, and we had been like ships in the night, truly.
Right.
We just kind of I loved him and he loved me, but gosh, we were a mess. And we had built our marriage on shifting sand. It's not like God was the foundation of our marriage. We didn't even know how to do that. But I had been going to church. My cousin had enrolled my oldest daughter, in their choir program. And by obligation to my daughter, I would go and watch her,
Yeah.
And then she was saved at that church.
Wow.
And they pulled me aside and said, Stiles was saved. And I'm like, oh my God, does this mean we have to come to church? Because I was truly, I wasn't comfortable there. I didn't fit in there. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't want people to know my story. But I went out of obligation. So I dropped the triplets off at their Sunday school, and then I would go to, take Stiles to hers, and I would just sit in the lobby and not make eye contact because I didn't want anybody talking to me. But I did that for 2 years by myself. And when we stood in my kitchen deciding on divorce, it was the first time I think God clearly spoke to me,
Wow.
And he said, you don't get to bail. If you're going to find out who I am, well, I'm really going to show you, and I'm going to show you what it's like to follow Jesus. And it means you don't bail in the thick of it. because I was a runner. And so he said, I'm going to show you what real forgiveness looks like and what real unconditional love looks like. And you're going to stay here and show it to your husband. And I was like, boo, no, but I don't want to. And we did. We stayed and we worked through it. And it took 3 days of fighting before I said, I'm your wife and I'm not going anywhere.
Wow.
And that moment changed everything. And a week later, my husband started going to church with us. And 3 weeks after that, he gave his life to Christ. And he was adamant. He was never, ever going to step foot in that church. He hated everything about it. And God, the Holy Spirit just grasped him. And I can't even explain it. People are like, no way, 3 weeks, it was fake. I'm like, no, because God can do that. His timing is not our timing, And so about 2 months after we had decided on divorce, we were baptized together at the same time at our church and became members of our church.
Wow.
And since then, my husband coached the church football team and was in a life group. I'm like, who are you? Who is this man? And it has changed our lives completely.
That's amazing. Wow. Yeah. All right, listeners, we have so much more we could talk about. We're out of time. We got to have Candice Curry back. We got to talk more about this story. But what you can do, you can beat me to that, is get your copy of The Con Man's Daughter, story of lies, desperation, and finding God. There's a lot more drama, a lot more turns, a lot more great stuff. Just full of insights. Candice Curry, it's brilliant. CandiceCurry.com. Amazing story.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your heart in this book and sharing your heart with us. It's just an incredible miracle, and we're just really blessed to hear about it. So
it's all Jesus.
It's all Jesus.
It's all Jesus.
I believe that. This story is something else. It's something special. All right, we're going to take a quick break. I'll be back to wrap up. But that is Candice Curry, The Con Man's Daughter.
In Steve Teel's novel, Joe Angel, The Guardian Games, Book 1, angels and demons battle inside the Alamo Dome with high stakes involved. These angel-demon challenges are part of the Guardian Games. High school senior Daniel Walsh's future is all set. He's a can't-miss baseball prospect, but his faith in Christ recently has just been striking out. When an angel with attitude invades Daniel's life, the tension and conflict escalates quickly. If Daniel experiences the Guardian Games at the Dome, could it empower his faith, or will he continue to resist and go his own way? Whatever he chooses, Daniel Walsh will impact eternity either for good or for bad in Joe Angel, The Guardian Games, Book 1, available at Amazon, or email steve@sabeacon.com. New guests to Momentum Bible Church can get their signed copy for free Sundays at 10 a.m. See MomentumBibleChurch.com for directions, or email steve@sabeacon.com.
Friends, I'm surrounded by an all-star team at Momentum Bible Church. A church startup takes all-stars like Rosie, Anaya, Hope, Chris, Debbie, Shanice, Samantha, all loving and teaching kids at MBC. We've got an all-star worship band, all-star group leaders, and I'm looking for our next all-stars. I'm looking for you. #all-star.
MBC meets 10 a.m. Sundays in far north San Antonio near Johnson High School at Cibolo Green Elementary School. MomentumBibleChurch.com has directions and information.
Join us every Saturday at noon for Beacon Radio on AM 630 The Word. Steve Teel talks to difference makers like Javier Galavan of Radio Luz, Jim Falk and Bobby Coher of FCA, Kara Wilson of Project Red El Salvador, and singers Jackie Velasquez, Phil Wickham, Matthew West, Abby Grimaldi, Big Daddy Weave, and authors like Cold Case Christianity author J. Warren Wallace and The Shack's William Paul Young. Join Steve every Saturday at noon on AM 630 The Word.
Steve Teel, Beacon Radio. Wow. Listeners, are you upset with me? We didn't finish our interview with Candice Curry. Are you frustrated with me? Because you got to come back next Saturday at noon right here on AM 630 The Word to hear more about The Con Man's Daughter. What an incredible story. Each one of us, as God redeems us, as God reaches out to us, each one of us is a miracle. Now, I love those stories when we're just so far from God and just have no clue if God is real. But God, He shows Himself, and He redeems even just the hardest situations. But I also love each one of our stories. No matter what, we are all, when God gets a hold of us, we are miracles. And it does remind me of the story of Joseph in the Old Testament. And You grew up in the church, you know the rough stuff that he went through, his own family just ready to kill him, sell him off, human trafficking, the ups and the downs that he goes through. And yet at the end of it, he can say, you intended this for evil, but God intended this for good, for the saving of many lives. And I'm telling you, every once in a while, we just need a glimpse to see God is at work and to hear God say, I'm intending this for good. This is for redemption. This is for the saving of many lives. Things that we don't understand as we go through those obstacles. And Candice Curry's story is just incredible, but so is yours. And God is writing that story right now. No matter where you are, no matter what doubts you have, circumstances, God is writing that story, and it's a beautiful story. So what I want to encourage you to do this week, and we'll be back with more of Candice Curry next week, I want to encourage you throughout the week to seek God. And then remember what Mom says, be a blessing.